And joining us now live from Sanford, Florida, Fox News Channel host of Geraldo at Large and nationally syndicated radio host, Geraldo Rivera. Good morning, Geraldo.
Larry, nice to talk to you. I actually came home late last night.
Oh, you're home now. All right. Well, listen, we were watching you all weekend, sort of the ringleader there of all the proceedings for Fox News, so welcome home. But I got to say, right at the beginning when the Trayvon Martin story took off, you made a lot of headlines because you had said the hoodie that Trayvon Martin was wearing was just as responsible as George Zimmerman was, and you took a lot of heat from that for that comment. But now, looking back and seeing how the trial went, reflecting on your comments, do you feel somewhat vindicated now?
I feel absolutely vindicated. Not that the vindication of Geraldo Rivera means a hill of beans in a situation like this, but this was a tragic situation, Larry. We had two people who had every right in a legal sense to be doing what they were doing, where they were doing it, at the time they were doing it. But you had this tragic confluence of events, these two people coming together, the zealous, maybe overzealous neighborhood watch captain trying to protect his neighborhood, doing the right thing in his eyes. Zimmerman thought himself a hero. Trayvon Martin, the kid who had some disciplinary problems in Miami, up visiting his dad, a stranger in the neighborhood, 7:15 on a dark and drizzly night, wearing this hoodie, obscuring his face. Zimmerman didn't recognize him, didn't think he belonged in the neighborhood, although Trayvon was there legally living with his dad on a temporary basis. So you had this awful situation where Zimmerman looks at Trayvon looks at Zimmerman, Trayvon sees in Zimmerman a creepy-ass white cracker, Zimmerman sees in Trayvon another of these young punks, looks just like the other young punks who had been burglarizing and robbing his neighbors in the weeks and months leading up to this tragic event. So you had a situation where it was clear from the beginning, a tragic case of mistaken identity, both people profiling each other. Clear case. I predicted an acquittal months ago, Larry, because the self-defense law is so specific here, no doubt.
Geraldo, we're having a little problem with your phone line. We're going to reestablish with you, so we're going to call you right back and see if we can get a better connection while we talk about this case a little bit more. He's exactly right that maybe what happened here was that everybody was acting in what they thought was the best way, but there was just a tragic misunderstanding at the final moment.
Yeah. Let's quickly take Rico and Clinton while we're waiting to reestablish with Geraldo Rivera. Rico, thanks so much for calling. You're on WMAL with Brian and Larry.
Hello. As I listen to the people call in, and I've also, listened for the last weeks and so forth, it is scary the way that we're walking around. Well, I think that we're walking around in this society with people who, you have to excuse my expression, are just too stupid to understand that you just can't turn around and hit someone because you are uncomfortable or because you feel like they're going to attack you or you don't know what they're doing because his words, they're creepy.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I know, Rico. I'll be honest. You're absolutely echoing my frustration too, and I don't. Do you think that this is a racial thing though? Is it? Or, do you mind me asking, Rico? Are you black? Are you white? What?
I'm black.
Okay. So when you hear people say Trayvon was defending himself because this guy was following him, what's your response to that? And they say you can't understand because you're not black.
My response to that is just as well as I was trying to tell my 12-year-old daughter last night. I was beating it in her head and having her understand. With this case, a lot of people should have been looking. Stuff that they should know already, especially when you're an adult. If you're a teenager, okay, maybe you're kind of stupid. You listening to music or whatever, and it's telling you respond violently.
Hey, Rico, thanks so much for the call, and thank you for teaching your kid the right way. We got to go back to Geraldo. We've got him now. Hey, Geraldo, welcome back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Wow, that's tons better. Thank you.
Can't talk to each other.
Yeah. So as you look at this case, do you think that it would be appropriate for the Justice Department to bring a civil rights action here?
It'll be, I hope that they can resist the kind of race politics that forced the state of Florida to preposterously overcharge George Zimmerman with murder 44 days after the tragedy. If they can resist the race politics, they will not bring the case. Here's why. Unlike in the state court, the federal authorities, the Department of Justice, to bring a hate crime, will have to prove specifically that George Zimmerman murdered Trayvon Martin because Trayvon Martin was black and George Zimmerman had hatred in his heart because of the victim's race. It's a real difficult case to bring, a hate crime of that nature. But hey, listen, this is, politics played such a big role in getting this case started from the get-go with the intervention of the President of the United States and civil rights activists like Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and the Miami Heat and the Million Hoodie March and all the rest of it. But if they view it dispassionately, there's no federal hate crime here. But race and the justice system have unfortunately intersected.
It could be argued that the case was brought in the first place because of pressure from people like Al Sharpton, and now they're out there doing it again, pressuring for a civil rights investigation.
Absolutely, Brian. And, they had the NAACP annual meeting chance happened in nearby Orlando. In fact, the police chief in Sanford, Florida, and some of my my African-American guests were also attending the NAACP convention just 15 miles from where this killing took place and where the trial was happening. And that's all they were talking about, demanding the Justice Department bring the case, demanding Eric Holder to devote attention to this, to reopen the investigation. Holder started during the time the state of Florida did not bring the charges. You remember, Brian, Zimmerman gets brought into custody on the night it happens. They question him. They take him to the hospital, etc., and decide then not to arrest him, because the officers and the local prosecutor said, it's clearly a case of self-defense. We can't arrest him. 44 days begins to go by. The president speaks. Sharpton and Jackson get involved. The demonstrators hit the streets. Governor Rick Scott, the conservative Republican governor of Florida, appoints the special prosecutor, Angela Corey. She brings the charges and preposterously goes for a murder rap. Not only does she arrest him, but she goes for murder. The big banana there. Yeah. Now, if the federal government is similarly going to respond to political pressure, then they'll bring a hate crime case. But what I strongly suggest, if the Justice Department, I understand the rage people have. How can an unarmed, innocent kid be killed and no one be charged? If the federal government has any inkling of doing this, I hope they don't do it on their own volition. I hope that they would have the decency to follow the rules and procedures and go to a grand jury. And if a grand jury indicts, so be it, but I doubt it will happen.
All right. Geraldo Rivera, always